want to welcome you and thank you for joining us this morning. Just a little bit about the Chamber really quickly. We are the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. We currently have over 350 members. Our membership spans from Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Washington County, Frederick County, Harper County, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Charles County, and St. Mary's County, and recently Dorchester County. Our chamber basically has three major principles designed to support the success and sustainability of our Black business owners, and that is to connect, educate, and advocate for our Black business owners. And so with that being said, doing business with the state is part of our education series for the year. And this is a 4-part series. Today we're doing the prime contracting and small business in the Small Business Reserve Program, the SRP. No, I'm sorry, the SBR, messed that up. And then in May 24th, we're doing the MBE, DBE, ACDBE, and SBE certification. And in June, we're doing the subcontracting in the Minority Business Enterprise MBE program. And then in July, we're doing the Maryland Veterans Owned Business Enterprise program. And this overall is part of our doing business with the government. We're also doing business with Montgomery County. Actually, that ended last month. And now we're in the middle of our doing business with Prince George's County, of course, doing business with the state, and then doing business, a 6-part series, doing business with the federal government. For doing business with the state, we partnered with the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs. And with that, we have 2 experts. We have Eduardo D. Hayden, is the Small Business Outreach Manager. And we have Lisa Sinar, who is the Small Business Reserve Program Compliance Manager. And I think, time flies. Lisa, I think you and I sat down and kind of planned this out just before COVID hit, like at the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. And then COVID hit us. I think we did this like in December. We sat down and said, we're going to do this in December. And then in March, COVID hit, and then we kind of went on hold for a minute. And now we're finally circling back to put this in motion. So it's been a minute, but I'm glad that we are able to now get this up and going and to present this information to our members. In looking at the bios for today's presenters, Eduardo and Lisa, 2 fun facts I found in their biographics. Eduardo spent 10 years working for the Baltimore County Police Department as an outreach counselor and Hispanic youth liaison. That's pretty interesting, Eduardo. Yes. I didn't know that. And then Lisa, what I found in your bio that I did not know, your career included a decade in television and radio broadcasting. So Lisa is our presenter today. And so Lisa, now that takes it to a whole new level. I have a whole
Don't hold that against me, please.
whole new expectation from this presentation now. So now you're not just like a government person, you're now an expert in broadcasting television. So that said, thank you guys for partnering with us and bringing this information to our membership. And with that, I'll hand it over to Lisa Sinar and Eduardo Hayden.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Eduardo, did you want to make a few remarks?
Just real quickly, thank you very much to the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce for working together with us on this. One of our particular missions has been to make sure that we cover as much as the state and the groups that are impacted, right, by the socioeconomic programs that we offer. And so we thank you very much for this opportunity. Lisa will get into the specifics of what that program is a little bit over, I think, the other programs as well. I'll be in the behind the scenes looking at questions and answers. So if you have a question and you submit something, I'm going to do my best to curate as many questions to hold them off for the end. And then we'll bring in as many of those as we can, time permitting, of course. If there's anything that I can answer right away, I will do so. But otherwise, I'll be working behind the scenes while Lisa does her presentation today. And I look forward to just talking to everybody today. So Lisa, it's all yours. And
Thank you so much.
Behind the scenes for you.
You got it. Thanks, Eduardo. And again, thank you, Ken. Thank you to the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce, your board members, your sponsors. I see Montgomery County and Level Up. This is a fantastic opportunity, and your mantra or your marching orders, connect, educate, and advocate, puts us right where we need to be today. This is just a tremendous opportunity, and welcome to prime contracting in Maryland's Small Business Reserve Program. If you're ready to become a prime contractor on state-funded contracts in with Maryland's participating agencies, that's what we're going to talk about today. Our focus today is going to be the SBR, or the Small Business Reserve Program. This is a procurement program that offers prime contracting opportunities. I'm going to keep saying that, not sub. The Small Business Reserve is prime contracting opportunities on state-funded contracts to eligible small, minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. So if you're any of those small businesses, you're probably eligible to participate in the SBR program. I'm also going to ask you some questions throughout our time together, make it kind of interactive to get to know a little bit more about you who's here today, whether you're certified in the Small Business Reserve Program already, because you may be certified, some folks are and don't know they are. I'm also going to ask you about the kind of procurement opportunities that you're looking for if you decide that you want state agencies to be some of your new customers. And my colleague, Eduardo Hayden, our outreach manager, mentioned if you have questions during our presentation, you're going to type those. And did we say that's in the chat or is in the Q&A? In the chat. Okay. I think we're typing those in the chat. Yes. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, type those in the chat. We'll do the best to answer them as we go along, but know that sometimes the questions that you're answering are going to be covered in the next part of the presentations. That's why we don't stop down during the program to take live questions. Taking notes is great, but you do not have to, because we are going to give you, provide the slide deck from today's presentation. And if I'm also understanding, this is being recorded. So this is a wonderful value that the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce is sharing with its members today. So let's jump right in and talk about what we're going to cover today. We're going to have an overview about the Small Business Reserve Program, because it's an alphabet soup. I mean, there's MBE and VSBE and all these different ones today, different certifications. They're all just tools. Today, we're going to focus on the Small Business Reserve Program, or the SBR program. We're going to talk about the eligibility standards. We're going to talk about the online self-certification process. It's really easy to get certified in the Small Business Reserve Program, easy to get in. We're also going to talk about the most important thing, I think, the pipeline for identifying Small Business Reserve designated opportunities. So again, if you got questions in the chat box, but you do not have to take notes if you don't want to, because we've got nice links and different things throughout the presentation, and you're going to get a copy of this presentation. And so I think important to know that that's who's here today, small businesses, how important you are. You know how important you are, and I think the economy found out how important small businesses were, in particular during the COVID pandemic. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, 99.5% of all Maryland businesses are small. Small businesses like yours are the lifeblood of Maryland's economy. So as a small business owner, and particularly with the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce, Black businesses in particular, it's a struggle to own a business. The landscape is constantly changing. You're always looking for additional tools and strategies for expanding your customer base. And that's why we're here today. That's one of the values in being in the state of Maryland. Hopefully, during the past 3 years, you discovered or rediscovered new customers that, in addition to the private sector and some county or local procurement, there is state contracting. And if you've been thinking about that, hopefully today you'll get a little more information to proceed with taking advantage of state contracting opportunities. That just means selling your goods or services to Maryland state agencies. So we're not talking about county, we're not talking about federal today, we're talking about Maryland state agencies who buy a wide array of goods and services. So participation in Maryland Small Business Reserve Program is another pipeline to some new customers for you. So before I jump into the SBR program, I want to tell you a bit about the office that we work in. the Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs, because it's good to know who you're partnering with today. We are a coordinating office of Governor Wes Moore. We connect small businesses like yours to greater economic opportunities. We have oversight and monitoring of 3 of the state's socioeconomic procurement programs: the Small Business Reserve Program that we're going to talk about today, the Minority Business Enterprise Program, and the Veteran-Owned Small Business Enterprise Programs. And these stretch across 70 participating agencies. And as your Executive Director, Ken White, said, we're going to hear about those programs in later workshops, so you'll have an opportunity. We just give an overview when we can, so you know they're connected to the Governor's Office. We also, our office, the Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs, conducts statewide outreach training and programs for businesses like today's webinar. We come out into the community. We also have our own prime contracting in the Small Business Reserve. This webinar that we're doing today is one of our monthly training and insights for procurement success. We call these our tips webinar series. We host these at the Governor's Office, but as you can see, we also take them on the road. We do webinars, and I'm sure at some point down the road, we're going to be doing more in-person. And we do in-person workshops, outreach events. That's how I got to know Ken and the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. Was I showed up at one of your online seminars, but I've also seen you guys out in the community. In addition to our tips webinar series, we also do things like navigating email and marketplace. We just have a host of webinars and resources. And so want to make sure that you see that we have linked our website, gomdsmallbiz.maryland.gov. I have it throughout our presentation. I'm going to take you live to our website throughout the presentation, just so you can become familiar, bookmark it, because there are just a lot of resources on our website. So hopefully you'll do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Governor's Office, the 3 socioeconomic procurement programs that we do oversee. Though we're focusing on the Small Business Reserve Program today, just want to make sure you know the other programs that we do oversee. The Maryland's Minority Business Enterprise Program. We do not do the certification, but we oversee the program management of that. Our Maryland's MBE program is nationally recognized as a model for minority inclusion. Administration of the MBE program lies within our office, and as we mentioned, Maryland Department of Transportation's Office of Minority Business Enterprise, that's a mouthful. They handle the certification for the MBE program. Currently, there's a 29% aspirational goal for our MBE program. And with the efforts and focus of our new governor, we're hoping to meet the goal. It is mainly a subcontracting program. MBE is race and gender specific, so you have to be in one of the disadvantaged groups in order to qualify for the MBE program. It's an application-based certification process, and there is an annual review. Then there's our veteran-owned small business enterprise program, and Maryland's VSBE program is relatively new. We are not the federal Vet Cert program. Maryland has its own veteran-owned small business enterprise program as of about 2018, and our office oversees the program. This is mainly subcontracting opportunities on state-funded contracts for qualified veteran-owned small businesses. Our VSBE program currently has a 1% aspirational goal. However, that's just the minimum, and we're hoping to increase that. So those of you who are veteran-owned businesses or who are veteran business owners, make sure that you consider our VSBE program certification. And MBEs and VSBEs are always encouraged to prime contract. That is something that, even though you can subcontract, that the program is largely subcontracting, you are encouraged to prime contract. VSBEs and MBEs in fiscal 22, it was over $1 billion spent with MBEs. The veteran-owned small business, it was over $30 million spent with certified veterans. So to learn more about these programs, again, we've got our link to our website, gomdsmallbiz.maryland.gov. And now I'm gonna talk about our Small Business Reserve program. That is the star of the show today. This is a prime contracting program, which has a 15% set aside. It is race and gender neutral. So you can be small, minority, women, veteran, all of those, as long as you meet our state-defined eligibility standards, you can qualify for Maryland's SBR program. And after today's program, we encourage you, if you haven't gotten certified to get certified. We're going to go through that process today. With the SBR program, just want to mention, it is an online self-certification process that we're going to do an overview today so that you'll be familiar with it, because we know you get inundated with a number of different kinds of certifications. And so you're not familiar. So we want to make sure that you know what to look for, what you are looking for when you go to get certified, to certify yourself. So I'm going to do this before we get a deep dive into our program. We're going to do our first poll. If we can launch our first poll, we would like to ask you, are you currently certified in any of the following in Maryland's 3 socioeconomic programs? If we can launch our first poll, let's see if we can do that. Terrific. Are you currently certified in any of the following Maryland's socioeconomic programs? The Small Business Reserve, the Minority Business Enterprise Program, the Veteran-Owned Small Business Enterprise Program, or you're not certified in any of these programs. Just want to get an idea of who is in our, who we're talking to today. So are you currently certified in the Small Business Reserve, the Minority Business Enterprise, the Veteran-Owned Small Business, and check all that apply. If you're in all of them, you can check all of them. So it looks like most of our audience is not certified at all. Let's, if we can, let's end the poll, and I'll see let's share the results. I don't think I can share those. Okay, great. I want to share the results. So 16% of you are registered already in the Small Business Reserve Program, a few 11% in the MBE, and most of you are not. So not in any of the programs. So you're going to get some information today. We can stop sharing that now. Thank you so much, Melissa. So let's talk a bit more about the Small Business Reserve Program. I'll do that. Talk a little bit more about the Small Business Reserve Program. So value proposition. First of all, it's free. Participation in the Small Business Reserve Program is free, and it's an online self-certification program. An average of 20% of Maryland's state solicitations that are advertised on eMaryland Marketplace Advantage are designated to the Small Business Reserve Program. And we're going to talk about that some more. So there are 20% of the state solicitations that are being advertised on the state's procurement portal currently are designated for this Small Business Reserve certification. And important to know that over $400 million in state-funded contracts were paid to SBRs, certified SBRs in last year, fiscal 2022. You compete only against other small businesses that are certified in this SBR program, which is a value, and it's a way to better leverage in terms of certificate, in terms of procurement. There are participating agencies, almost 70 participating agencies each have Small Business Reserve liaisons there for you to help you navigate how to do business with their agency. So all these things help give you value to the Small Business Reserve Program. A little bit about the background. While some of you may not know as much about the Small Business Reserve Program, because it was started in 2004. Those that are familiar, the SBR program provides an opportunity, again, for just small businesses to compete against other small businesses for state-funded opportunities. There are 68 participating agencies. What does that mean? There are 68 participating agencies that are directed to spend at least 15% of their fiscal year procurement with businesses that are certified in the SBR program. Now, there's no dollar limit on what procurements can be designated in terms of the Small Business Reserve Program. It really depends on the industry and whether or not there are available businesses in order to bid. There have to be at least 3 available businesses for a particular opportunity in order for it to be carved out as a Small Business Reserve designated opportunity. Now, what has put more opportunities in the space is that back in 2021, an executive order, the governor at that time issued an executive order designating or making all procurements, eligible procurements between $50,000 and $500,000 had to be designated to the SBR program unless they're not eligible. But this puts this sweet spot between $50,000 and $500,000 automatically designated to the SBR program unless there are exemptions unless it's exempt under Maryland law. That puts a whole lot more potential business on the table. And in 2022, the legislature codified this, and it is now the law. So it did not go away with the last governor. So for those of you who are new to state contracting, there are who are new to state contracting, and for those who didn't see as many opportunities previously in terms of the Small Business Reserve Program, there are many more opportunities out there, and it's just growing. It's just really, really growing and tremendous. So once a solicitation has been designated as SBR, that's something that's advertised on eMaryland Marketplace, the state's e-procurement portal. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But once a solicitation has been designated as SBR, an award can only be made to a certified SBR vendor. Now, the caveat is that there must be enough small businesses in order for the procurement to be designated as SBR. So they have to be at least 3 small businesses for the solicitation to be designated. And that's important to know, because if you're the only business that does what you do, it's not going to be designated as Small Business Reserve, but there are many, most of you are in areas or in businesses where there are other available businesses. So let's talk a little bit about the eligibility standards for the Small Business Reserve Program. I provided this link so that after our program, after our visit, you can go to the website to see the Small Business Reserve eligibility standards. And I mentioned our website because we go back and forth. Give me 1 second. Wanted to be able to. I had it. Give me 1 second. A little technical thingy here. Let me do this. There we go. So I wanted you to be able to see our website and the Small Business Reserve. This is the Small Business Reserve tab on our website, to see that we break down the eligibility standards here. Now, we're going to talk about them today, but you will be able to link to our website to see the eligibility standards. And again, you're getting a copy of this presentation so that you'll be able to go to use the links to go right to our website, and hopefully you're going to bookmark that. So eligibility for the Small Business Reserve Program, you have to be a for-profit business other than a broker. The exceptions are real estate and insurance. Those brokers are fine because you actually do the thing. Those are exceptions. And you would fall under our services category, but you cannot be a broker. You actually have to be the prime contractor. You have to be an independently owned and operated business. You cannot be a subsidiary of another business, and you cannot be dominant in your field of operation at the national level. That's in legislation. And let me explain that. Companies, and when you're asked that question on the application, are you dominant in your field? Folks want to say, yes, I am. You cannot dominate the field on a national level if you are a small business. If you're Gilbane or Whiting Turner, you're not eligible for the Small Business Reserve Program. If you're one of the big CPA firms, as Ernst & Young, you're not eligible. But if you are ABC contracting with 30 employees, you're probably eligible for the Small Business Reserve Program. You fall within the size standards. So let's talk about the size standards for the Small Business Reserve. SBR size standards are state-defined standards. They're not at the same size as the Small Business Administration. They're Maryland's state-defined standards. And we also break down your certification by the industry where you do most of your work. So you would have to select either wholesale, retail, manufacturing operations, service operations, construction operations, or architectural and engineering as what is the primary part of your business in terms of in which category does it fall? So you first select your industry. So let's say you're a wholesale company. You also then have to fall within the number of employees that you've had in the most 3 recent years, or the average gross sales in the most 3 recent years. So if you're a wholesale company, then you have to fall within either 50 employees or under within the most 3 recently completed years, or fall within the $4 million average gross sales. So as long as you don't exceed both of these size standards, you are still eligible for the Small Business Reserve. And in terms of your employees, we look at full-time, part-time, more than 20 hours per week. That's and your employees that are full-time or part-time, more than 20 hours per week, they count toward your employee threshold. And your average gross sales is what you told the federal government, what's on your federal tax return under gross sales and receipts. And right now we'd be looking at your 2022 taxes, 2021 and 2020. Since those were just due. And important to note, you do not have to upload or give us any information on the front end. This is a self-certification. You enter your information, and we'll talk about this right here in terms of the disclaimer. At the time of your award, a procurement officer may ask us to verify your eligibility to participate in the program. And that's when we would look at your information that you provided, your gross sales receipts, your employees, the fact that you are a for-profit company and you meet the standards. We'll pull documents from you then just to verify that you are eligible to participate in the SBR program. And so nothing on that front end, you just go on in. Just want to show you as well, when we went to our website previously, under the SBR tab on the governor's office, that's our homepage here. I mean, our website. We do have the disclaimer, and you should read this, because anything that you're participating in, if you're providing false information to the state in connection with obtaining or attempting to obtain a contract designated to the SBR program, if there are penalties if you're providing false information. The least of those is that your bid would be deemed not responsible. If you're not eligible for the program, then you're not able to be awarded a contract that's designated for the SBR. That's not the group I'm talking to today, because most of you all probably are eligible for the Small Business Reserve Program, but it is good just to know the rules of the game. So now we're going to talk a little bit about state procurement, that if you're going to be doing business with the state, it's good to know that all vendors receiving payments from the state have to be in good standing with the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation. Very important. You can't owe taxes to the state and receive an award from a state agency. So if you're an apparent awardee, procurement officers are going to check your standing with the state as a part of the process of determining an awardee. It's just part of their process. The State Department of Assessments and Taxation, good to know, is a searchable database. So before you even begin to bid, you can go to the website, to SDAT, the State Department of Assessments and Taxation, and you can look up your company. Here we are. Let's say I'm going to look up Marriott International, just so you can see International Capital and their corp. So anybody can look you up, business name. Hopefully this is going to work today. Okay, so this is what it would look like if you're looking up your company. And then it'll say, this is what you're looking for. This business is in good standing. And so you can look your company up if before you go ahead and bid, and if you have issues and problems, you can go right to the State Department of Assessments and Taxation and call them and say, hey, I want to make sure that I can get in good standing, okay, if you're not. So just very important to note as you're starting state procurement, if you haven't already done that. Also, all vendors receiving payments from the state must have an account and be registered in the state's e-procurement portal. I mentioned it earlier, Maryland Marketplace Advantage, known as EMMA. So when you hear me say EMMA throughout the rest of the presentation, that is the state's procurement portal. All vendors receiving payments have to be registered in EMMA. And guess what? It is free to register an account in EMMA. This is your business's identity to state procurement officers. So it's really, really important. And this is where certification for the Small Business Reserve Program takes place inside of EMMA. You can't call our office and say, hey, give me an application for the Small Business Reserve. It only takes place inside of the EMMA platform. This launched back in 2019 as the state's answer to procurement modernization. There was a commission that was impaneled. They came up with recommendations. These were turned into law. And one of them was the creation of a new state procurement portal. So if you used to participate in our old portal, Maryland Marketplace, and you didn't register in Maryland Marketplace Advantage, the new one, you don't have a presence in the state. And we'll show you how you can find out if your company is already in EMMA. If you don't know, hopefully you do. But this system is becoming a full procure to pay. You will register for your free profile on Emma. You will tell everything all the answers about the business. We're going to talk about that. And ultimately, you'll be able to get paid and invoice agencies through Emma on contracts that you've done. Something else is that our veteran-owned small business enterprise certification also takes place in Emma. So let's take a little bit of a closer look. This is where you start your vendor registration. And the reason I'm giving you these screenshots, and again, you guys are going to get this presentation. This is also being recorded. And your questions, we're going to take our curated Q&A session is happening at the end of the presentation. So just, sit back, pay attention, think about, jot your questions down if you have them, and you can ask them in advance, but I may answer them before in the next portion. So really important when you start your vendor registration on Emma is that there are a set of quick reference guides that Emma has on its homepage. And so you really want to be able to, I'm going to go back because I realized I didn't show you what Emma looks like. This is what the eMaryland Marketplace homepage looks like. Okay, welcome to Emma. This is where you would log in as a business, but before you log in, it's important to read this information, read the frequently asked questions because they give you a bunch of information that you would ask. And then we've got these quick reference guides. Now, these are located a couple different places, but for the purposes of what we're doing, these quick reference guides will walk you through most of the functions, all of the functions actually, that you have to perform in Emma. And it is not an intuitive system, so it's important to use the quick reference guides. And that's what I'm giving you screenshots of. These are the quick reference guides. This is the one for starting your vendor registration. You are going to need your tax ID, and they tell you this. You're going to need your vendor tax ID status. And so when you're entering your information into Emma, your pre-registration is first. It's walking you through part one, which actually just you're setting up your account. And I'll go through this. Let me just show you. Step-by-step instructions. This particular quick reference guide diagrams the specific call outs. Those that have a red border are mandatory information. Those that have a black border are optional. But I would tell you, if you have the information, enter it, even if it's optional. This is the way state procurement buyers, these are your customers. This is how they see you in Emma. So as complete a profile as you can put together, the better you look to state procurement officers. If you just put in a little skeletal information, it makes them think that maybe you're not prepared to do business with them. And so put your best foot forward. If you have, you see, here we go. So we're starting with our new vendor registration, which I showed you on the home page. Then we're going to, as I mentioned, take time to fill out this completely. It goes through. It may look like you're duplicating information because at one section you're asked to fill out this company information. Then there's another section that they're asking for other information. Some of this information is seen publicly, and I'll show you when, because the Emma database is searchable, so other people can see your basic information, but some of it is information that procurement officers and administrators like me need to see. As a compliance manager, there are times when I'm asked to verify a business's small business reserve eligibility, or I'm asked to verify that you're actually registered, or that you're certified rather, in the small business reserve program. So, but right now you're filling out your information for your Emma profile. We haven't gotten to the Small Business Reserve certification yet, but you don't get to the Small Business Reserve certification until you complete your Emma profile. So that's why it's so important. Asking you for your address, even the company name. What is the legal name of your company? What is the doing business as name? We have seen companies put the legal name in the doing business as name and the doing business name, and some of them writing their own name and the legal name. So please pay attention when you're filling this out. If you make a mistake, you can make changes. You'll have to reach out, as I'm going to show you, to the Emma help desk and prove that you made a mistake, but you want to have your profile as accurate as possible. So vendor registration, when you're completing the fields we were talking about that are marked with an asterisk, all these red fields, these are important. Now we're getting to the part that relates to what we're talking about today. A part of the initial vendor registration, you're asked, is your company enrolled currently in any of the state's procurement programs? Right here, procurement programs. The first one you're asked about is the Small Business Reserve Program. Well, if you're new to Emma, you cannot be in the SBR program. You could not have filled out an application. So you're going to say no. They're supposed to make this a grayed out field, but there have been a few bumps with Emma, frankly. And so if you're asked the question, are you currently in the program, Small Business Reserve? It's no. This is just a question for registration. And so after this, you don't worry about it, but by answering no, you're then going to be prompted, would you like to apply for the Small Business Reserve Program? And this is where you get to say yes. There's a drop-down menu here, and you get to say yes. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to fill out the Small Business Reserve application at this point. You're just pre-registering at this point. You're answering these questions that are mandatory. You're going to be asked about the veteran-owned small business program, whether or not you'd like to participate, and you can say yes or no. And then you're going to be asked, like I said here, yes, no, Small Business Reserve, veteran-owned program. You're also going to be asked, when you are asked about the MBE program, this is a little bit different. If you are currently enrolled in the MBE program, or should I say certified in the Maryland's Minority Business Enterprise Program, not anybody else's, not any state or other private certification. If you are in Maryland's Minority Business Enterprise Program, you would say yes. That certification takes place outside of eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. So you could, in fact, be in the MBE directory. I think we answered, some of you answered yes, that you are certified in Maryland's MBE program. So you would say, yes, you're certified, but only if you can look in that MDOT MBE directory and see that your company is there, is current, and you have your MBE number. That's something that you can't control, that number. So if you're certified, you will have an opportunity to put your MBE certification number in your Emma profile. If you're not certified, you say you're not certified, you say that you're interested, and it'll take you to where you can get information on MBE certification. Next, you're going to be asked about other programs. And these are federal programs. The Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, the Small Business Enterprise. SBE is different than SBR. Small Business Reserve is state. They're here, we're talking about federal programs, the Disadvantaged Business, the Small Business Enterprise, and the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or ACDBE. These are certifications, if you have them and gotten them in the state of Maryland, they're going to have the same number as your MBE number. They have a uniform certification application. So if you got these through the state of Maryland, you're going to have these numbers. If you didn't, and you haven't, you just say no. And then you, at any point, you can go back. Let me go back. You can always go back and change your no to a yes if you get certified in these programs. But if you're not certified, you simply have an application in. The answer is no, you are not certified in these programs. Again, we're going through this because this is central to your Small Business Reserve application, is you're filling out completely your eMaryland Marketplace or your Emma vendor registration. So again, I mentioned you're completing a few different areas of contact information. This contact information that you're being asked, these required fields, first name, last name, position, email, this information is your administrative information. This is the information that folks who are working in Emma, procurement officers and others, this is the person that is going to control your Emma account. Now, you can change this later, but whoever's entering this information becomes your administrator. They are the person who's going to get the emails if there are issues. This is the person's email that can make changes to your Emma account. And later on, you'll find out you can add different people to your Emma profile. You can add your salespeople, your marketing people, your accounting people, and they don't have to be your administrator. They have a different kind of access to your Emma account, and you get to decide within the Emma Quick Reference Guides. It shows you, and there's an Emma training video as well as Emma Live training that walks you through how to add other users to your Emma account. But right now, you're just adding yourself so that you can set up your pre-registration for your vendor account. This is also a part of pre-registration that you're asked to list the kinds of goods and services that your company supplies. And you're just listing what you know right now, just to put something in there. You have to list at least one thing. And the EMMA system uses a system that they're not NACE codes. It uses United Nations Standard Product and Service Codes. This is, it's an international product, what do you call it? I got stuck for a second. Okay. It's an international coding system that the state has decided to use. And I put a link here so that you can learn more about UNSPSC. We'll talk about it later, but you're going to add the kinds of goods and services that you offer. How you do it and is there's a drop-down menu that you start to type in the keywords to what you provide. If it's construction services, if it's IT services, you start to type that in, and then the various categories are going to come up. Once they come up, you can select those and they will be added to your EMMA account. Why it's important is that we find a lot of companies during pre-registration, it's mandatory because folks would skip over this step, set up their EMMA profile and not have any goods or services listed, which means you get no emails from procurement officers. And again, you'll be able to go back in to be able to add more product and service codes as you go on. In fact, I listed the link here, I added the link here so that you can go to EMMA's video page. EMMA has a whole set of videos for vendor training. And one of them is, let me just do this. One of them is, here it is, updating your UNSPSC codes, understanding, this is the one. Understanding UNSPSC. This little 4-minute video is going to answer a lot of questions. So you don't have to sit through a whole class, but this will tell you about how to add UNSPSC codes. Really, really helpful. But you got to add those in order to keep it moving forward. I also am showing you that if you go to the UNSPSC codes website, there are times when you're trying to type it into the keyword search and it gets a little frustrating because EMMA can move a little slow. So what we decided to do was go ahead and let you go to this website. You can cut and paste the codes. Go look for the codes that you want. Let me show you here. You can look for the codes that you want because, and hopefully you can see this, UNSPSC codes, the sections A through I are supplies. These are all different kinds of supplies that you could provide, okay? When it comes to J, J is all of the services. So you would go through and again, important to look at the UNSPSC codes, understanding the codes. Don't have a lot of time to go into it today, but once you understand that, okay, here's financial instruments, products, and agreements. Let's say you provide those services. You can then narrow down, is it bank offered products? Is it electronic fund and payment products? So it really drills on down into the details, into exactly what you do. And what EMMA tells you to do is add as many details, go right on down and check off as many of these that apply. And you're able to do that by loading these into your EMMA account. Okay, let me do this. So that's for UNSPSC. So the next thing, and we're still in pre-registration, select, so you'll set aside about an hour or so for your pre-registration to be able to set that up. And you can do it 24 hours a day because the website is there. You next want to select the areas of company that your company serves in Maryland. Let's say you only serve certain counties. Well, if you serve all of Maryland, you select all of Maryland. If you only serve certain companies, certain counties rather, there's a drop-down menu and that you can select the counties that you serve. So that's now, once you've done that, you have completed all the sections in terms of the pre-registration. You are now ready to register. Once you click that registration button, your registration, pre-registration is complete. And if it's successful, you're going to be notified via email. You're going to get an email that then allows you to go back to the login page and be able to then go in and now begin to look at setting up your getting certified in the Small Business Reserve program, or adding any other items that you wanted, if you want to add more product and service categories or change things as far as maybe the areas that you service. If you have any issues with your EMMA profile, loading it, if you didn't get your password, just any issues inside of EMMA, please reach out to the Emma Help Desk at emma.helpdesk@maryland.gov. They do not take phone calls because they want a track of what kinds of problems there are, and they're very responsive. So please reach out to the Emma Help Desk. If you have questions about your small business reserve, of course, our information is going to be there. And if you don't reach someone, you reach whoever you can. You can always reach out to us, but just letting you know, if you've got an Emma problem, the best course of action is to reach out to the Emma Help Desk directly. And again, so now I mentioned to you, Emma has a lot of resources because you're going to have to get to know Emma. If you're going to be working using the Small Business Reserve certification as a tool, you're going to need to know Emma. You're going to need to know how to search for bids. You're going to need to know how to work with your Emma account. You're going to need to know how to respond to a bid. And so the resources are here. I'll put the link in here, Emma's quick reference guides, but also to the Emma website that has just a lot of information. And I'm just going to take you there because a lot of folks don't necessarily go and look, but this is for vendors. This is for vendors and businesses. This is the state's Office of State Procurement that runs eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. But these are great. Emma training for vendors. This has their classes that are coming up. And so not going to belabor it, but you know, there are a bunch of resources and you got them there because you've got the link. Now we're going to go to SBR certification. And that is, these are what the quick reference guides look like in Emma. And you see right here, what did I get to? Here is our SBR certification and recertification quick reference guide. If you are currently certified in the Small Business Reserve Program, like some of you are, you fill out the same application as you do if you're getting certified. The difference is that you're just adding a year, but you have to fill out a new application each year. And the Small Business Reserve certification I mentioned earlier is annual. It is helpful to use the quick reference guide because it tells you how to get inside of your Emma profile, because many of you are only doing it once a year. You can't fill it out twice a year. You're only allowed to fill out the Small Business Reserve certification once a year. And let me kind of explain that to you. The company's SBR certification should only be submitted when you are new to the program. That's the first time that you're going in. If you're within 30 days of the anniversary of the date of your expiration, that's to renew your Small Business Reserve certification. And you'll get an email to the email that's listed when we're doing the pre-registration. Whoever's listed as your admin who has control of the account, they're going to be emailed within 30 days of the expiration of your certification for SBR. They're going to be emailed, say, hey, your SBR is expiring in 30 days. There also is an alert posted inside of your Emma account that'll say your your SBR certification is about to expire. So pay attention to the Emma account, have someone regularly checking, because if there are problems with your Emma account, let's say you haven't used it in like 60 days, they may deactivate it. Emma might deactivate it. And it's a simple matter of they want you to check in with the Emma Help Desk just to make sure there's not anybody messing around with your account, but they want to make sure that this, because it contains your certifications and important information. Also, if your certification expires, if it does, and you just forget about it because you were out of the country for a year, something like that, you weren't doing any state business, you can recertify. Again, it's the same application. Important to know though, the application is only processed, only one application per year is processed. So let's say you fill out an application, you're certified, and you're not sure if it's time for recertification. So you just go in and fill out an application. It'll let you fill out the application, but you'll get an email saying this wasn't processed. Your certification already exists. So it's not going to process the application. Now for SBR certification, let's walk through this just real quick. In order to get that certification for SBR, you're going to have to log into your Emma account. Once you get into your Emma account, again, these are just screenshots. These are the same pictures that you're going to see in the Emma quick reference guide, but wanted you to see them here so you know what you're looking for. So in your Emma account, there's a general information, sourcing, and contracts. Those are your menu options when you're inside of Emma. You're going to go to general information, company information. This is to get to this SBR certification. Then you're going to go within the documents section. And under attestations and general documents, you're going to see in red letters, SBR certification, you can't click on the letters. You're going to be clicking on this plus sign, and it is the plus sign that then allows you to access. When you click on the plus sign, you then get this SBR application for certification. And it's very, very important that you click this blue link to read the disclaimer. We talked about it earlier. If you haven't read it, read it before you do the SBR certification so that you understand the rules. You don't want to sign something saying, I've read something, I understand, and you didn't. And if you have questions, please reach out to us at the SBR help desk. That is the Small Business Reserve Help Desk, and our numbers are listed, and they're also in the form here as you're going through. But read the document. Once you have read that the information on the eligibility standards and the disclaimer, you can say you've read that. Now you're into the SBR application. And what's great about this is you can see the questions ahead of time. This quick reference guide is available to you today. I have screenshots here, but it's available on eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. There's also a link to the SBR quick reference guide on our SBR page of our website, the Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs, because it's going to ask you, again, organization type. Is your business independently owned and operated? So read through these, and you can look at it ahead of time just so you can decide what organization type you have, all those wonderful things. And here, when you're going to be asked, for example, gross sales, you're going to need to know your most recent 3 years of gross sales. Now here in shadow, you see 2018, 2017, 2016. These are placeholders, examples. You want 2022, whatever the current year is, the tax year where taxes are due, that's your tax year one, not the beginning of your business. We want the most current tax information in terms of your gross sales and receipts. And it's you're rounding it up. If you made $100,000, $110,000 last year and pennies, 110,000. These numbers are important because if we are asked to verify your eligibility, we're going to ask you for your most recent years of tax returns to make sure that what you said here matches with what you told the federal government, and that those numbers, that you are still eligible for the program and that you haven't outgrown the size standards. If you have outgrown, good for you. Congratulations. You're now a larger business. You're just not eligible for this program. Most of you are, but again, this information is important. You're not guessing on that, and you're all business people. So just want to make sure you know that we may have to verify the information. And so please put the information here that accurately reflects your company. And again, to note, if you are a new business, congratulations on becoming a new business. You just project, you answer yes that you are a new business, and you project what you think you're going to make in your first year. Just an estimate, because you don't know lots of times in terms of the industry what's going to happen, but we're asking you for an estimate. So now we're into the SBR. Once you've, clicked all the required fields, give me 1 second. Once you filled out everything, then you're going to enter save because you've answered all the questions. And once you enter save, then you have to submit. Important to note, didn't say that. Throughout your Emma profile, every time you do something, you need to save it. Save right here. Save, 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 save along the way. When you enter information, save it, because when you exit your Emma profile, if you haven't saved it, it doesn't hold. So save. Along the way. Right here, you're going to see that the data has been saved. The activity SBR has been automatically validated successfully. So I got ahead of myself, I'm sorry. Once you submit the application, the green submit, forgive me, then you're going to see that your information has been saved. If there's any issue and it has not been saved, something goes wonky, you reach out to us at the help desk. But if you've done all of these things and you submit the application, the next thing you should see in the attestations and general documents section, where you first access that SBR application, you're going to see your status is approved. You're going to see the approval status. You're going to see a green check here for status. You're going to see the document date when you filled out your SBR certification and when it is going to expire. And you might even want to just write that down somewhere where it's going to expire, just so you're aware of it, or whoever handles these kinds of administrative things for your company is going to do that. And also, if you've met the eligibility standards, back in that section where we filled out, you were not a member, you're not currently in the Small Business Reserve Program, when you registered in Emma, that you did want to apply, you're going to then see an SBR certification number. And we know it's a valid number. Number one, you can't type it in, but it's an S, it starts SB and the year that you got certified. So for our example, it's the year 2022, then you're going to see a dash, and then you're going to see several numbers after that, depending on how many companies, business vendors are registered in the Small Business Reserve Program. Important to note that failure to recertify, mentioned it earlier, by your expiration date means this number goes away and you would get a new number if you did not recertify before your SBR certification expires. If you do recertify before it expires, you keep your number. And I wasn't sure if someone had a question, but you keep your number if it expires. If you renew your certification before it expires, you get to keep that SBR number. Mentioned about failure to certify. So you will get an email, as we mentioned, 30 days prior to expiring, that your SBR certification expires. If you're found non-compliant, and this is one we talk about, please take your time to fill out the SBR application. It's really, really easy. If you're unsure about something, there are information bubbles next to each question that explain it. We constantly get companies that filled out that they are dominant in their field of operation. They say yes. Again, if you're a small business, you cannot be dominant in your field of operation because it's one of the questions on the national level. If you fill those out, you save and submit the application, you have you've attested that this information is correct. And so if you filled it out and said you're dominant, then you're going to be found non-compliant, which means you're not approved for the Small Business Reserve Program, and you're saying you made a mistake, then we've got to pull some documents from you to verify that you are eligible at the time currently, because you said yes. And so we system takes you at your word, but you can reach out to our SBR help desk and we would be happy to try to verify that you are eligible. When we talk about SBR recertification, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through that, but I just wanted you guys to know when it comes to the recertification, because some of you are already certified, that you should receive a notice within 30 days prior to the expiration. And it is the same application, but you're going to see, and you're also going to use this little plus sign. You're not selecting the little pencil icon. And that's why we wanted you to use the quick reference guide when it comes to SBR recertification. So you're not clicking the wrong things, go through that. And once you click that, you're going to get your application and you're going to be able to recertify, save it, submit it, and you will get the same number if you've recertified. Here we go here. This is what your document section will look like. Your previous or your current certification hasn't expired yet, but it's showing that the new certification is there. It just hasn't kicked in yet, but you're going to see that, okay? And if you have any questions, please reach out to us at the help desk. What we're going to do now is check in and launch another little poll. So now you've completed your application for SBR certification. If we can launch poll number 2, that would be terrific. That would be terrific. Now, once you're certified in the Small Business Reserve Program, do you know how to find your SBR certification number and expiration date in eMaryland Marketplace Advantage? Do you know how to find your expiration date, your certification number, and your expiration date? I love this. 50% said no. I'm gonna give it another second. You're certified in the SBR program. Do you know how to find your SBR number and expiration date? Because we get these calls throughout the day, every day. I can't find my SBR number. I don't know where it is. And I understand. Yes or no, can you? Let's end that poll and see where we are. Can people find their SBR? Okay, 35% said yes, 65% said no. So I'm going to share with you. Let me have that. I'm going to stop sharing the poll since many of you don't know how to, which again, all this is new. Happy to share the information. So if you want to find whether or not your company is currently certified in the SBR program, one of the things that you can do is a vendor search. Remember earlier we went to the eMaryland Marketplace login page. You do not have to log in. you can simply go to the page and you're going to click vendor search. And there is a set of quick reference guides. There is a quick reference guide rather that actually walks you through this vendor search. We're going to do it together, but in the event you don't remember what we're doing, you can follow this link to go to the quick reference guide that walks you through how to do the vendor search. So what you're going to do, give me 1 second, is once you hit vendor search, you're going to have a number of menu options, because Emma lets you filter. Let's say you were looking for another vendor. You want to look for someone that you can work with, or you need maybe goods or services. If it's your company, you're going to simply put in the vendor name. Just type in your name of your company. 1 second. There we go. Once you type in the name of the company, this is what's going to come up. Now, in this case, Data Doc Maryland LLC. Data Doc, what's going to come up is their supplier number. And this is important too. I don't know if I brought this up before, but when you register in eMaryland Marketplace, you get a vendor ID number, Emma vendor ID number. And this is a unique number. It starts SUP, and then it's several numbers after that. This company, SUP 863-741. That's your unique identifier. If you're having problems with your eMaryland Marketplace account, reach out to the Emma Help Desk. When you email them, put your vendor ID in the subject line. That way they know exactly who they're dealing with. You don't have to put your tax ID, any proprietary information, but you can do that. So this is what everyone can see about your company. You're located in Silver Spring, where your city is, state, postal code, vendor contact, who's listed as the vendor contact, and here, that this is an SBR vendor. They've got their SBR number. The expiration date is here. This is what procurement officers are looking for, whether or not you're current in SBR. And if you were a veteran, then you would have that listed here. Also, if you have a website, they're going to be able to see that, your email address and your phone number. So important, all the information that you're putting into Emma then is visible. Another way that you can find out if you are certified in the Small Business Reserve Program is to log into your Emma profile. Like we talked about before, once you log into Emma, you're going to go to the general information, company information section. And in the company information section, you're going to see your SBR certification number. If you don't see that number and you know that you are certified, you got certified, please reach out to us at the SBR help desk so we can find out what's going on. Maybe someone else in your company told you that you were certified and maybe they made a mistake, or it could be a system error, but you're going to see your certificate. You should see your certification number there. And as we mentioned earlier, in the attestation and general documents section, you're going to see your status as approved, and you're going to see your document date, which is the date you got certified, and your expiration date. Those are the ways that you can find out if your company is certified. And if you're not sure, please reach out to us. Our phone number is here. We do take phone calls, as well as our email addresses. And if you know you're not going to be available, give us an email. Email us, give us your vendor ID number, like I mentioned. Say you're not sure if you're certified, and we will check it out to see if you're certified, hopefully. And again, curated Q&A that we're going to have at the end of this session, so that if you have any questions about what we've talked about, I will be happy to answer those then. But now we're going to get to the meat of this: is how do we identify bid opportunities through eMaryland Marketplace. I'm sorry, let me go back 1 second. So you're in the SBR program. We want to talk about identifying bid opportunities through the state contracting pipeline. And I am going to do something, which is our poll number 3. If we can launch poll number 3, I'd like to find out a little bit about you. Please select from the following to describe the type of bid opportunities you would like to search for: architectural services, construction or construction-related services, engineering services, human, social, cultural and educational services, information technology services, or information technology supplies and equipment. And I'm asking this because I'd like to do a little searching just so you can see how to find the kinds of bid opportunities that you're looking for on Emma. So let's see where we are. The majority, wow, IT, okay, information services. And I also see, oh, human, okay, social and cultural. And let me see what else is here. So the major are human, cultural, social, and IT services. Okay, we can end the poll now. Thank you so much for that information. It's very helpful. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not. Did I share the results? Sorry, I meant to share the results. So the majority of those of you that responded are human, social, and cultural, and educational services, IT. We usually get a lot of IT, which is smart because a lot of things are going to IT, but also IT, technology, supplies, and equipment. Okay, so we can stop that poll now. And let's go on to try to get to the state contracting pipeline. So there are a few things. eMaryland Marketplace is a great place that you can find bid opportunities. The procurement forecast, which we're going to touch on in a little bit, you can find opportunities. The Board of Public Works is one. And we also have, I just want you to know, these three different pipeline opportunities. We have videos on our website for the eMaryland Marketplace Advantage, procurement forecast, and the Board of Public Works. We're going to cover it today, but it's a lot of material. You can go back and look at how to mine for public data on these three different places because you're going to be using Emma a lot. So, but we're going to talk about these three of these right now and a couple more later in terms of opportunities, pardon me. So Maryland has four different procurement categories. Category 1, small procurements. Category 2, small procurements. Well, I should say there are 3 categories of small procurements. Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, and then there are formal procurements. You're not going to remember all this, but the more you begin to look at it, and we actually have a state procurement 101 that is a deeper dive into Maryland's procurement that I do recommend, we recommend that you take advantage of. But for the purposes of today, you want to know where some of these opportunities to use your Small Business Reserve certification reside. Small procurements between 15,000 and 50,000. We're going to talk about those because those are not designated to the Small Business Reserve Program, but they are opportunities. These solicitations have to be written. They have to be published in Emma if they're between 15 and 50,000. They have to get at least 2 quotes, and these are awarded to the lowest and best responsive and responsible bidder, but they're not formal procurements. Okay, just want to be clear on them. They're not formal, they're informal. So we'll talk a little bit about those. 50,000 and above, a written solicitation is required. All of these are advertised on Emma, so you can search Emma for these kinds of bid opportunities. That's the most important thing to know. So identifying bid opportunities, you should be receiving notifications of opportunities to the email address that you named as your primary contact if you filled out your UNSPSC codes correctly. Some of these solicitations should be SBR only. If you're not receiving these, there is a video on troubleshooting your UNSPSC codes to see why you're not getting these bid opportunities. So identifying bid opportunities, so you're going to be getting them, but also you're going to be able to look for bid opportunities on your own. You can log into Emma should you decide to select bid opportunities, but you can also use the Emma Quick Reference Guide, Viewing Open Solicitations. This is so valuable to be able to go right to the Emma page before you even log in, and you will be able to see open solicitations. For example, you put in the keyword that you're looking for. You can search by keyword. Like I see here, it's Carson's Run Stream Mitigation. You can search by the category, which are the UNSPSC codes. You can also search for SBR designated procurements, okay? That's without even having to log in. So once you do log in, once you type in a keyword, then you're going to see when you open up the solicitation. Let me back up a second. You've typed in your keyword, you've looked for the solicitation, and you get a solicitation. You can then select the solicitation, and once you open the solicitation, you can see more about it. You can see who the issuing agency was. What is the main category? In this case, it's roofing and siding and sheet metal services. That this particular solicitation is a request for a quote. That's what they're asking for. Most importantly, one of the more important things is the due date. Like this one is May 15th, 2023, or March, the closing date, May 15th. The closing date of the solicitation is the last time, well, the time that you have to get your response in. And so those are important. And in our State Procurement 101, they reinforce this. If you don't get it in on time, it's not counted. There are no excuses. It just either it is in on time or not, but you can find solicitations this way. Let's say you didn't get emailed a potential opportunity, but you can go into Emma and search for them yourselves. And also you can look at the procurement officer. If there's an opportunity that you think you should have gotten because you filled out the coding and it's the kind of work that you do, reach out to the procurement officer. Their names are listed here. The email address is here. Email them and let them know and this one says it's Small Business Reserve certified, is designated for the Small Business Reserve program. You can reach out to them, let them know you're SBR certified, you do this particular kind of work. You didn't get the solicitation emailed to Emma. Can they let you know, how did they code this? So you can make sure that you get bids like this in the future. Really, really important to know how the rules in terms of how things work, and then you can actually take advantage of those. I want to go back for a minute because I realize that, one second. Did I not? Give me 1 second. I'll do that at the end. I'll do it at the end because I wanted to take you through the pipeline before I get into anything else. Maryland's another place that you can get really, really good information is Maryland's Board of Public Works. It is unique. No place else in the country has the Board of Public Works like Maryland has. It's comprised of the governor, the controller, the treasurer. They have semi-monthly meetings. These are public meetings that you can go to or you can view online. When COVID was there was very limited seating, but you could view it live online. Any procurements most contracts above $200,000 have to be reviewed and approved by the Board of Public Works. So a lot of money on the table. Some of these are Small Business Reserve designated procurements. This is the BPW website. We've got the link here so you can go live to the website. On the meeting date, it gives the calendar, all their upcoming calendars. The meetings are usually on Wednesdays, usually every other Wednesday, but check the calendar because depending on holidays, and they can have special BPW meetings, but you can watch them. And very important to note, at his first Board of Public Works meeting, our new governor, Wes Moore, made it very clear his commitment to the minority business enterprise space, which is inclusive of Small Business Reserve companies, because many MBEs, you will be priming if you take advantage of the opportunities, you'll be priming as SBRs. And so he made that. So this is the Board of Public Works. This is the information that is contained. You go to the particular meeting date. You look for the particular category of business that you're looking for. The agenda is published. Once you get to the agenda and the particular areas that you're looking for, you can then see about a particular procurement. Now, these are in the process of being voted on and approved, but you can see the State Department of Education, Division of Rehabilitation Services, that they procured that the Information Technology Department procured these particular services. Now, this particular contract was SBR designated. Now, this was through the Workforce Opportunity Act contract, state-of-the-art, commercially available, fully customizable application to automate collecting required relevant and accurate Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So they're describing what it was. And you're actually seeing the amount of the solicitation as well as the offerers. And this is important to see who were the companies that bid and what were their final offers. These are contracts, again, above $200,000. So this kind of information is valuable if you're looking at who are the companies that are competing, what kind of offers are they getting, and again, within the Small Business Reserve designated space. So you're not competing against the largest companies. They're only companies that are SBR certified. That is the Board of Public Works, one space in terms of mining pipeline for opportunities. Then we've got the procurement forecast. Now, this is on our website, Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs. We host the procurement forecast. This is our website. the GoMD smallbiz.maryland.gov. If you go to the procurement forecast page tab on our website, you'll be able to see the procurement forecast. Now, our procurement forecast portal, each fiscal year, and Maryland's fiscal year starts July 1 and ends June 30th. And so we're in the third quarter, ending the third quarter of our fiscal year. We've got one more quarter left. This database is populated with projected purchases of $100,000 or more for the current fiscal year. Not all projected purchases are going to be made, but this is what agencies, Annapolis just finished voting on the budget for the state of Maryland. So the new procurement forecast is going to be out July 1. That's when we put it out, July 1. But right now, we're looking at last year's or the current fiscal year's procurement forecast. So you can search by the description of the goods or services you provide. You can search by the agency. We list all the agencies that submitted their forecast, and there were probably at least about 40 or 50-ish that submitted. You can search by the procurement category when we're talking about human, social, and cultural. You can search by the procurement category. You can search by the contract value. What's really great, search by the region or by the projected advertisement date. So we're now in the, like I said, getting to the fourth quarter. But what you get once you search is you hit the search button, get your categories, hit the search button. Then you're going to export this to an Excel document, which is really fantastic. Once you, and I should have said this is what your search looks like. We looked to University of Maryland College Park. We were looking at January through March 2023, and we're seeing University of Maryland College Park. We're seeing on-call painting work, on-call MEP services, okay, information and technology services, software support, which you guys were looking for. Some of you were. So once you get what University of Maryland College Park had, we search by them because they're a huge buyer. You export your results to Excel, and that's the great thing about this document, about this forecast, is that you can export it, and look what you get. You get the agency name, and I collapsed because there are a lot of other columns here, but just so that you could see. University of Maryland, this is currently an SBR designated contract that for maintenance. You see the estimated contract total, 100 to 500,000. That's fantastic. But you also get the contact name and information of the procurement officer. Again, this hasn't been posted. The agency thinks they're going to spend this money on this contract. So this is an opportunity for you to reach out to the procurement officer who's listed here, share your capability statement. If you've done government contracting or if you haven't done it with the state of Maryland, procurement officers would like to see a one-page, it's helpful, one-page resume of your business called a capability statement, not 10 pages. They're not going to look at 10, but one page, a resume of your business. We actually have on our website resources for perfecting your capability statement. But this is important, introducing yourself to the procurement officer and letting them know that should this procurement opportunity become available, please make sure you get directly solicited. You don't want to miss this opportunity. And also, if there are other opportunities, or if they know how to do business, who can, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but that procurement forecast is a great resource for that. Here's another search. Information and technology services, which we talked about earlier. So instead of looking by agency, we looked for information technology services, and we got quite a bit came up. So we're going to export those to an Excel document, and look what comes up. The controller needs services, human services. It lists the agency name that needs the particular services you're looking for. Some of the recurring contracts, if there are contracts that, or if there are services in the forecast that there's a current contract that they think they're going to re-procure, they list the current contract incumbent, like who got the contract the last time, who's working it now. Now that's valuable to you because we're talking about the Small Business Reserve Program, but let's say you are an MBE and you see in the procurement forecast that there's a prime contract that has a current MBE goal, because we also list the MBE and as well as some of the VSBE goals on these contracts. That's important information to know, just saying another bit of information that you can get. But you can also see if it was previously a small business reserve designated procurement, and that can be really helpful. But again, contact name of the procurement officer, their phone number, and their email address, which is really, really valuable. Now, two other contracting pipelines that we don't talk about a lot, those are agency websites. So as well as the SBR liaison directory. Agency websites. Now, this is our page. If we're gomd.maryland.gov or any state agency page, you can get a listing of all the state agencies right at the top of the page. They've got state directory as well as state agencies. So really important, state agencies, go ahead and look up the state agency. You get a listing of the state agencies when you click that button, and these are hyperlinks to the agencies. Once you go to an agency, what's important is that many times they tell you how to do business with their agency. So good to find out what they say about themselves before you start asking them questions. You can find out about them, and that's important. Something else, we're talking about identifying bid opportunities. The procurement categories that are not advertised on eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. This is where the Small Business Reserve or the SBR liaisons come in handy. When there are procurements that are below $5,000 or less, these are oral, written, published solicitations to obtain quotes, but they're not published on EMMA. Procurement officers are encouraged to solicit quotes from small, minority, and veteran-owned businesses. And this award is based on the procurement officer's judgment. They just have to get a couple of quotes. That's it. This business is not advertised on eMaryland Marketplace. So how do you find out about this? You reach out to the Small Business Reserve liaisons at the agencies, and I'm going to share you with how you connect to them. Also, procurements 5,000 to 15,000. Again, these are not published on EMMA, so you're not going to see these. So when you're finding out which agencies buy what you sell, you want to reach out to the 68, or not all of them, but reach out to the liaisons that are with the agencies that buy what you sell. We have a listing. Again, this is our website, and we list the SBR liaisons from every agency, their email addresses, their phone numbers, and important email addresses. Again, capability statement, letting them know who you are so that they know you're serious about doing business, but you'd like to find out if they have, who are the buyers. You want to connect with the buyers who buy what you sell below what's advertised on EMMA. So if they have IT services, you're reaching out to University of Maryland College Park, their SBR liaison, who buys the IT services below $15,000 that are not advertised on EMMA? You want to reach that liaison because you want to make sure that you can try to get on that direct solicitation list. And this is what, again, the SBR liaison looks like. This is our final poll. If we can launch our final poll, we're just getting ready to wrap up. Launch that poll, pretty please, when you get a chance. We're going to talk about, if you're not currently certified in the Small Business Reserve Program, SBR, do you plan to become certified or recertified? If you're not currently certified in the Small Business Reserve Program, do you plan to become certified or recertified? It's a simple yes or no. I want to give you guys a couple moments because I'm hoping that you're thinking about it. These are prime contracting opportunities we hope you'll take advantage of. And we're going to end the poll now because it's just a yes or no. So 100% of those that answered said that they would be getting certified. I hope you will. We hope you'll reach out to us. Don't want you to forget that we are going to answer your questions. Our curated Q&A is coming up in just a few moments. Just want to wrap up and talk about what we just kind of summarize what we talked about today. That the Small Business Reserve Program provides a unique space for small businesses like yours to compete against other small businesses for prime contracts instead of larger companies. SBR vendors were awarded over $400 million in the last fiscal year, and that's the average, and it's going up. This is a self-certification through EMMA, eMaryland Marketplace Advantage, really simple, and it's free. The more registered small business reserve vendors there are, the more robust the SBR opportunities there will be. I meant to stop sharing our results. The more robust opportunities there will be. Eligible procurements between $50,000 and $500,000 with Maryland participating agencies are designated, the default is that they're designated to the Small Business Reserve. That executive order that became law puts more money into that $50,000 to $500,000 space, which is wonderful for small businesses like yours. And there's a pipeline for identifying procurement opportunities for SBRs. We talked about the pipeline, mining for public data. Category 1 and Category 2 small procurements, those are those ones 15,000 and under that are not advertised on Emma. That wouldn't, I know I would like to get a contract, $15,000, less than that, that's not advertised. And so if you have any questions about Small Business Reserve certification or anything that I've talked about today, please reach out to me via email. We'd love to answer your questions. And now is the time that we'd like to take some of your questions. If you have any, I'll look to my partner, Mr. Eduardo Hayden.
All right. First of all, thank you, Lisa, for a lot of great information. And we've had definitely a lot of questions come through. I'll do my best to present as many as those as we can as possible.
Sure.
First one, does Maryland have to be your home state in order to sign up for SBR?
No, Maryland does not have to be your home state. You have to register a presence in Maryland. Any state, any company doing business in Maryland does have to register with State Department of Assessments and Taxation, but you can be an out-of-state firm and participate in Maryland's Small Business Reserve Program. So you do not have to be in state.
Okay. Here's another one. If you are not certified yet, can you go after these opportunities?
Yes, you can. And this is the Small Business Reserve Program only. I'm not talking about the MBE or the VSBE. They have different rules. With the Small Business Reserve Program, you can bid on a Small Business Reserve designated procurement, but you are not eligible for the award until you get certified. So if you see something that's closing tomorrow, yeah, you can bid on it. But at the time of the award, if you're not eligible, they're going to move on to someone else. So I would advise you to get certified as soon as you can.
All right. So just to clarify, you can go after it, but if you want to win, by the time you get to that point, you do have to have that certification.
Yeah, because most procurements, solicitations are going to be out there. You know, it's like it could be a week to 10 days or something. You know, by the time they put it on there, they open the bids, and then they actually contact you. But again, on the front end, it's good if you go ahead and check your SDAT, make sure you're in good standing, get that Small Business Reserve certification in advance. But let's say you went ahead and bid on it and didn't realize your certification was about to expire, or it did expire. You have time. You can go ahead and get recertified. So yes, you can bid on opportunities and not be certified.
And it just, I guess, maybe remind people, how long does it take to do the SBR certification?
Okay, that is instant. And pardon me for not saying that. As soon as you save and submit that application, you find out instantly. The system calculates your answers and you get a response instantly. That is not the same with the Veteran Small Business Enterprise or with MBE that MDOT handles, but for Small Business Reserve, instantly.
All right. So it may take 20 minutes for somebody to go through the whole process.
Well,
but once you submit,
right.
once you submit at the end, you're going to get an immediate response. Okay.
And I mean, it could take you an hour or two if you don't have your tax information. If you don't have how many employees you have, you need to know your number of employees and your most 3 recent years of gross sales before you fill out that application. If not, you're going to have to come back to it.
Okay. Here's one. Also with certifications.
Sure.
Does a state certification cover you for county programs?
That is up to the county. Some counties do recognize the state's certifications and some do not. So you would have to ask the county specifically if they recognize the state's Small Business Reserve certification. It varies by county.
Okay, all right, just to make clear on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's one that you talked about. So, well, you kind of mentioned it for the review, but maybe this is for the renewal as well. So that 1-year review or renewal for the certification programs, is that based on a calendar year, or are we talking about the expiration date?
Excellent question. It's your date that you, 1 calendar year from your certification date. So it's specific to you. If you certified today, 4/26, then you expire 4/26/2023. And it states that on your document date is the date you certified, and you are to renew 1 year from that date. And MBE is a review. SBR, you're actually recertifying each year. You have to fill out the recertification application each year to renew it.
But the time frame is the same for either one of those certifications?
Whether you're certifying or recertifying, it's 1 year.
Okay. All right.
And
From
not the
date that
calendar
you-
year,
you
but
have
your certification date.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Mhm.
Now this is one that's important, because we have a lot of small one-person type companies,
Yes.
right? Can they be a contractor?
Oh, yes, yes. You need to be, at least you need to be if you're the only employee, you need one to be a business. But you do not have to have multiple employees. There are a number of companies that don't have numerous employees simply because of what they do. They don't need a bunch of employees, and they'll hire more as they get more contracts. So you can have one employee. What's going to happen, I will tell you though, is when you are responding to a bid, you're gonna, I'm sure most bids will ask experience and certain things. So as long as you're capable of doing the work, yeah. But maybe take it back. For SBR, yes, you can have one employee.
Okay, good. Now here's a question that's sort of come up a little bit, and I think it hits to maybe the process of efficiency at the state.
Okay.
All of these programs, the different certification programs, can you, since let's say someone is submitting tax information for one,
Mhm.
can you retrieve that information for the other program? And if not, why not? Why are they separated or?
Yeah. So I'll give an example for minority business enterprise. They have their own certification portal process and all of that. So other agencies can't dip into that information. For the small business reserve, we don't ask you for that information up front. And it's really probably for the purposes of privacy and security that information is not exchanged. If it was one streamlined certification, yes. But maybe in a perfect world, we would all be able to access your tax information, but for purposes of what was it, security, I don't get to participate in MBE certification. MBE doesn't participate in our certification, so that's why we don't have access to those documents, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah.
All right. I know they're looking at, I get it from the pinpoint of efficiency, and they're right. Yeah, it would be great, but that makes sense, and I hope that makes sense too.
And again, you never know what will happen in the future. If tax documents were loaded onto your Emma profile, if they required those documents to be loaded there, then those of us who had access to that administrative privileges could access those. But I don't have privileges to get into Emma, and I guess most states, ours just isn't there yet. I mean, you look at they're trying their best to protect your private information and not just let anybody be able to get to it.
Yeah. All right, so here's one, there's a lot of talk, of course, of Emma when you register, and the fact that we utilize the UN SPSC codes versus the NICS codes.
Right.
Can you maybe explain a little more about not just why, and are there any crossovers?
Yeah, so in terms of why the UNSPSC codes were selected, I can't tell you that, other than when the Emma system was built, the Department of General Services Office of State Procurement made a decision to use this coding system. They said it was more universal, that it was something that allowed more different kinds of codes. And in terms of why, as far as I know, there's not currently a mapping to the NACE codes. Yeah. But let's say you are if you provide IT services, and that's what you're certified under in terms of your NACE codes, you can look at the UNSPSC codes by keyword search and also look up IT services. Though you would have two different codes, it's essentially the same services that you're providing. And so, yeah. But in terms of why they picked two, somebody's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, not sure on that one.
Again, yeah, yeah.
And then this maybe leads a little bit into this one as far as how does then the Emma system, how does it determine who it pushes notifications out to?
Oh, great question. So when you register in Emma, or anytime that you're in Emma, you load your account with the UNSPSC or the United Nations Service Product Codes. The goods or services that you provide, you put those codes into your account. And as I mentioned, there's a little 4-minute understanding UNSPSC codes video that's I linked to in the presentation. And the procurement officers look for those codes. That's what they load when they're creating a solicitation. They put the code on it. So it emails all the companies that have selected those particular codes.
Good. And that's a good, so keep that in mind, you guys, as you go in, it's what you put in your profile. And then when the solicitations use those same codes, it's going to create a match. It's what it
creates a match. And I mentioned too, if you look on Emma and you see a solicitation that you didn't receive, you provide those goods or services and you're like, hey, I didn't get that profile. First look in your spam folder, because every now and then it happens. But if you didn't get that, reach out, email that procurement officer and let them know that you provide this good or service, and ask them, how are they coding that? What United Nations Service Product Code are they using? Because you didn't get that solicitation and you don't want to miss those in the future. And I know it feels like it's more like art than science, but it is a way of trying to ensure that you get all the solicitations, that you don't miss opportunities.
Now here's one that's and maybe you can help clarify how this the best way to do this, right? So obviously when you register in Emma, right, it references all of your certifications, right?
Yes.
It asks you to select the SBR, the VSB, the MBE, and whatnot. What would be your recommendation as far as what should come first when it comes to, let's say, the MBE certification? Do you do that first, then register for Emma, or should you just register for Emma and then once you get the certification, you just update? What's the best process for that?
So my recommendation is do everything you can do first. Don't wait on things. Emma, you can, when you apply for your Minority Business Enterprise certification, and that's going to be one of the sessions, I think the next session is going to be talking about that certification. That takes an amount of time. They'll tell you it could take, anywhere from 90 days to a little more, depending on the volume of people seeking MBE certification. So you put in your MBE information, the Emma registration of Emma, you're going to get that regardless of whether or not you get MBE certified. If you're going to do business with the state, you want to get that Emma account and carve out a couple of hours to be able to take your time and load that account. If you cannot attend one of the Emma navigating email and marketplace, one of their videos, and I link to those videos when they have those, or I should say the live class, watch the video. It's only about an hour. Spend the time to watch how to navigate this, how to set up your Emma account, how to register for Emma, but plan on taking a couple of hours to do that, because this is how you look to procurement officers. Now, filling out registering for your free Emma account is going to take you a little while. But I said you're going to pre-register. You'll get an email notification. Okay, we got your information. Now you can go back in and get that SBR certification if you want to. If you want to get the veteran, if you're eligible for that. The SBR certification happens as soon as you do it. So there's no waiting time. So I wouldn't wait for your MBE certification before you go ahead and develop your Emma profile and get the SBR certification, and if eligible, the veteran-owned small business enterprise certification, which takes a few days because that has to be approved. They need to make sure that you are in fact a veteran. So that's not instant, but it is faster than the MBE. And while you're waiting for that MBE, you could already be looking at opportunities and perhaps even be bidding on things. Edward, does that seem like I got that?
Yeah, because I think it's important for people to know,
it's timing. If something doesn't take a long time, go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Do the easy stuff first. you know, and get that over with. So here's one, which I take it people have noticed this, and maybe when you were doing a sample search on Emma,
Okay.
explain how the counties or other organizations use Emma, and then what's the best way to pursue those opportunities?
That's great. Thank you. So all of the 23 counties in Baltimore City can advertise on Emma. I know some of them have their own portals, but they can advertise their solicitations or opportunities. So if you're searching for an opportunity in Montgomery County, for example, you can actually search. I'm trying to think, can you search for Montgomery County? I'm not sure if you can actually search, but if it comes up, I'll put it that way. If in your search, Montgomery County opportunities come up, there's also contact information. You cannot actually respond on Emma. So you're not gonna submit your bid through Emma. The counties simply use it as an advertisement. They will advertise the solicitations and they'll give you who to contact, all that information, and then you can reach out to them directly to be able to find out more about that solicitation.
Yeah.
But the counties do use Emma.
Yeah, and keep in mind also, you'll find other organizations, so the university systems, colleges, even the public schools systems, they use Emma to advertise. But at the end of the day, they'll provide the link you have to follow to then complete whatever procurement process those entities use. But you can, and that's a good thing about Emma, is that when you look up Emma on a keyword, you're not just going to get what the state is doing, you're going to get what all these other areas are doing in those spaces as well. So that's a plus. Just a few more questions here.
Sure.
So you brought up the issue of the term dominant that's
Yes.
used. Is that something that can be fixed, or why hasn't it, since it causes some confusion sometimes? What can
There's
you say?
not been the will to remove that question from the law. What we've done is we've tried to explain it, that if it says, the reality is people also check wrong for nonprofit. It asks, are you a not-for-profit or nonprofit? And people say yes. Okay, you're not a nonprofit or not-for-profit. And I know it seems, but it's reading the thing thoroughly. And because it's a self-certification, people tend to think it is easy, but you do have to read it. And I know it's new to a lot of people. So, I mean, ultimately, that question may end up being removed or reworded. But what we did was we said, not dominant at the national level, because that's the rest of it. And if your business is dominant at the national level, I mean, how could you be
A small business?
Yeah, a small business cannot dominate its at the national level. So
yeah, I guess until any further action regarding that, what we do is we try to explain that dominant is, you know, are you Amazon, or, you know, it's like, are you Google, are you the big guys, you know, are you Walmart, Target? Like, if you're not, then you're not the dominant player. It's not it's not something regarding your capability. Maybe you are great at what you do,
right?
But just the dominant is really related to that size factor, because we're trying to determine if you're small enough to be in that space. So
and
until any further action, we'll have to rely on just us explaining it.
Ken wants to say
question.
something.
Yeah, I know that you're going. I was following the questions in chat too, and I know there's a long list there. There's a couple I want to answer.
Sure.
Make sure we got in before we concluded.
No problem.
Lisa, earlier on in your presentation, you were very specific about this is for this is for prime opportunities. Is there some way to facilitate those who are not ready for prime, but to sub and to partner, or to introduce them to the primes to get those opportunities?
So that's the MBE program, is subcontracting. In particular for this audience of Black business owners, that is for the MBE, subcontracting. If you're not ready to prime, SBR is not there for you, because these are smaller contracts. They're not tiny, but they're smaller. Now, I will say that there are SBR designated contracts that have subcontracting components. They might have subcontracting opportunities. Those would be carved out for MBEs and for VSBEs. That's where strategy, if you're eligible, get that MBE certification, because you could be a sub on an SBR prime contracting opportunity. So that's a great question. I want to say that great question.
And if I could add to that a little bit, you know, Lisa mentioned that we have the mining public data technique of videos and slide decks, right? So it's 3 or it's 4 of them, but 3 primarily. Those short videos and slide decks go over how to navigate those portals,
Right.
and generate information. And some of that can help you identify, well, who are the primes that are getting work? And that's one way for you to say, okay, I'm not a prime, I could potentially be a sub. And that's one way to identify primes that are going after work on a more consistent basis that then you could connect with. Or at least, you know, even if it just identifies a company, it allows you to say, okay, I saw that, and then you can always reach out to them and let them know, well, I saw that you were going after an opportunity at the state level about this particular product or service. I'm in that space. I would love to work with you in the next time that you go after something. So those systems and that mining public data series is meant to help you figure out how to navigate the information and identify not just opportunities for yourself, but then people, agencies, procurement officers, other businesses that could either be competition or people you could potentially partner up with for something else. So just keep that in mind as part of it.
Thank you for that.
Also, someone asked a question, is there a mentoring program for doing business with the state? Like the 8A has a mentoring program?
Not currently, not formally. Maryland Department of Transportation has attempted numerous times, and I'm not going to say that there won't be. I think, but in terms of a formal mentoring program, not yet. I was going to mention though that we, in our Ready, Set, Grow, our procurement connection workshops, where we are out and we're connecting businesses to procurement opportunities to agencies. That's a fantastic time to network. Oh, I completely forgot. The Department of General Services, Office of State Procurement, DGS, has a Meet the Primes several times a year. They're now doing this in person, meeting the primes. I don't know, Edward, I'm having a brain thing here.
You're thinking of the summit they do at Turf Valley?
No, the one where they have for construction services and IT services in the morning.
Yeah, so they do that 4 times a year. It's at Crownsville in person. They just did the first one. So I think the next one is June time frame, and then they have a couple more because I think they're quarterly. But yeah, so if you were to go to DGS, Office of State Procurement, I don't know if they have a calendar for those. But I do know they have 3 more coming, and that's great because that's what they're doing is they're going to bring out as many people from the procurement side of things from the state that they can through DGS, so that you guys can talk to them specifically and connect with people specific to opportunities, things of that nature.
So to your point, the more that you all talk about it, and I really appreciate you, the connect, educate, and advocate. We're taking the information that you're sharing with us today, the desire for a mentoring program. You know, the more you all talk about it, the more we begin to be responsive. It's a big climb, but it's one that more vendors are looking for, and we get it. In particular, if you're trying to connect as a sub.
And so one last question from me, and then I'll turn it back over to Eduardo.
Okay.
If someone's going through the procurement process and they have questions, or they run into a hiccup or something's not working, how do they obtain assistance? Is there a hotline or?
So if they're going through procurement, if you're responding to a live procurement, if you're responding to a bid, the contact information for that procurement officer is first. If it's a live bid, you ask right then and there, and you ask the procurement officer, and you do it via email because it's a public process. So you wouldn't come to our office to say, hey, I can't get my bid in. It's got to be in that portal because people can object and protest the bid that somehow you got unfair access or help. But that is the first step, is to reach out to the procurement officer. If you have general questions about the bidding process, about Emma, about that, you can reach out to the people at Emma, the Emma Help Desk, or you can reach out to our office if you just have questions and you're trying to figure out how to, you know, what to do next, kind of a thing. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, and then I guess just the final question for Lisa would be any sort of final tip you would give, generally speaking, for everybody today, just about doing business with the state.
I think please fill out your Emma profile completely. Make sure it's accurate, make sure it's a reflection of your company. If you do get certified in the Small Business Reserve Program, know when it expires, know how to find that number, your SBR number and your expiration date. It's a certification, so you should know what it is if you have it or if you don't. And if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. You know, reach out to our office. We're a great resource, and take advantage of the things. I just put this up. I think I'm still sharing. Am I still sharing now?
No,
Yeah.
we took you away.
Oh, let me, because I'm sorry, I just two other things, and that was our Ready, Set, Grow, our procurement connection workshops that are coming up. We advertise a number of things that are happening. This is meeting the buyers. These are the state buyers. Our in-person one, June 7th, is at MGM National Harbor, and that registration will open up about 3 weeks prior to the date, but here's the link to our website. But just want to make sure that you are staying connected to these resources. There's a lot of free stuff out here and you're not necessarily connecting to it. Wanted to mention, on our website, we have a Stay Connected section on the homepage of our website. And we want to make sure, let me do this real quick, because many of you might not know, you will get these email announcements of the Ready, Set, Grows, as well as our other webinars. We came to you guys today and we're happy to do that. But if, one sec, here it is. This is our Stay Connected section. You put your email address in here and you're going to get our Ready, Set, Grow announcements, our tips webinar series. That's these classes that we do now, that we're doing with you. We do other kinds of small business classes that help get you ready for procurement. Like I mentioned, State Procurement 101, which today tells you about SBR certification. We could not tell you how to connect just state procurement in this short amount of time. So you're going to have to invest a little bit of your time should you decide. Well, you're already investing. Let me just say, Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce, you guys are getting it right. You have fantastic leadership. You're advocating, and you're asking people to bring the information to you. But fill out that Emma profile. That's like number one. Get the certifications and get any certification that you're eligible for. These are tools. You don't know if you're going to need it, but if you need it, it's better to have it than to not have it. So that would be my advice.
Great.
Yeah. And
Thank you, Lisa. So the television and broadcasting did come through. You held us captivated for 2 hours with really great information. Thank you, Eduardo. And so everyone, this is our team for our 4-part series. The next session will be our MBE, DBE, AC, DBE, SBE certification. That's on May 24th. And then we have subcontracting in the Minority Business Enterprise Program. That's June 28th. And then we have the Maryland's Veteran-Owned Small Business Enterprise Program webinar on July 26th. So stay tuned. Melissa, can you put up our social media platform information? We do want you guys to follow us on social media. If you have signed up for this course, you are getting our emails through the blast, but there's a lot of other information that comes through us that we don't necessarily send out on a daily basis, but we do post it on our social media platforms. So please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and you'll get even more information out there. And again, thank you for participating today. Melissa, can you unshare for one quick second? And I do know that this was clearly some really important information, because I see some of our board members have been and have been present for the entire session. I'll open it up. Marie, Gina, if you guys have anything you want to say, feel free. If not, don't feel obligated, but I want to make sure I recognize that you are there.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Ijana. This has been a lovely session, and I look forward to what's ahead. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. All right, with that being said, thank you guys very much. Look forward to seeing you next month. And thank you, Lisa and Eduardo. Great, great, great job. Thank you so
No problem.
much.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We got 3 minutes to spare.
I just want to say, if there are any questions, my email contact information is on the slides, sending you guys a slide deck as soon as I shut this down, because I want folks, if you didn't get your question answered, feel free to reach out.
Yep.
That's it.
Great, great, great.
Thank you.
All right, folks. We'll stay on for a quick sec. Let folks log on.
How many people did you have present? If you...
We